Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to the world. And we are ACIC, Asia Creative and Innovation Channel, taking you to Knowledge Capital in Osaka, Japan. Here in a very tiny studio, but we are spreading this information out to the world. My name is Keisuke Inami. I'm a Chief Assistant to General Producer of Knowledge Capital and today's moderator. So you're watching currently the ACIC, Asia Creative and Innovation Channel. This is a joint platform of 7 international working group, and all of them are the partners of Knowledge Capital signing MOU. So back in May last year, we hosted an Asia Creative and Innovation Summit as a kind of meeting, online meeting of the representatives from each organization based in Asia of our partner. And then we decided to start and launch this channel, Asia Creative and Innovation Channel. Since then, every week we take turn to present our projects or products or even ongoing activities. So today, Knowledge Capital in Osaka, in Japan, is the host. So to begin with, we would like to introduce at first about ourselves as Knowledge Capital. Perhaps you're not really familiar with Knowledge Capital. So let me share my slide with you. So this is the entire picture of the complex called Groundfront Osaka. And it's located in the central area of Osaka, right in front of the Japan Railway Osaka Station. And Knowledge Capital, we are based in here on the bottom part of the north building, and ranging 88,200 square meters of floor surface. So since 2013, we have been operating the facility called Knowledge Capital as a field for creating new values through exchange of various knowledge. So companies, universities, and research institutes, of course, as well as the general public, collaborate here at Knowledge Capital to produce new values. Our concept is a fusion of human creativity and technology resulting in new values. So in the past, the development of innovative projects itself is confined to the technological achievement. But also, we think it's important to combine human creativity with technology, resulting in new values, creating the new product or new services, and even the communities or cultures that represent the new idea. In order to make this happen, at Knowledge Capital, we integrate the various sectors of the society, not only the professionals like researchers, scientists, and creators, business people, and artists, but also the general public, such as senior citizens, children, and students and families, like general consumers. We are equipped with various facilities, starting from Knowledge Salon, where people meet and interact and start collaborating. And then we move on to the office renting space called the Collabo Office or Knowledge Office, where could be the base for the project leaders to develop their own projects. And later than that, once your prototypes are ready, we have the lab and theater and future life showrooms to demonstrate your prototypes with the general users. For even bigger scale of interaction, we have convention halls and conference rooms and even big Knowledge Plaza, which is the atrium of this building. So Knowledge Capital is the name of the facility, name of the organization that operates Knowledge Capital, but at the same time, this is an ecosystem for the new innovation for you to interact with the new potential collaboration partners. So that's the entire overall picture of Knowledge Capital. So today, Knowledge Capital is hosting the ACIC and presenting you the International Students Creative Award 2020, one of the awards that we host here at Knowledge Capital. To start with this program, we would like to invite the general producer of Knowledge Capital and the policy advisor to the Cabinet Office, the Government of Japan, Mr. Takuya Nomura, to give a short speech.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your access today. I'm Takuya Nomura, General Producer of Knowledge Capital and Policy Advisor to the Cabinet Office, the Government of Japan. As explained before, Knowledge Capital's concept is to combine various different elements, such as science, technology, arts, and design to create new values. And the purpose of International Students Creative Award is to discover and highlight young talents in the field of video production and digital contents. This is the 8th edition in 2020 and it's growing bigger every year. In ISCA 2020, we have received 921 works, including those from 69 countries all over the world. We would like to continue this award in order to contribute to supporting and fostering young creators. We believe inspiration and creativity acquired in the process of creating the work will be important to live through such an uncertain world. I hope you will enjoy the program today, and especially for students, I hope you will get interested in participating in the next edition of ISCA. To close my speech, I would like to thank Mr. Shuzo John Shiota and Ms. Cynthia Beth Rubin for playing a very important role at ISCA as a judge and for joining today's session. Thank you.
Coming back to the studio, this is ACIC, Asia Creative and Innovation Channel. Knowledge Capital hosts today's streaming, and we're presenting ISCA International Students Creative Award 2020. So that was a speech from Mr. Takuya Nomura, the general producer of Knowledge Capital, and he describes a little bit about the ISCA on the whole. So we are truly global and international award. So as he said, this was the 8th edition, and year by year it's growing bigger and bigger. So this award itself, of course, this is part of Knowledge Capital activities, but this is in order to highlight the talent and young creators. And today we are featuring this award and digging deep and insight of this award itself. So to support this idea, we invited two guests for this streaming. So let me introduce first Mr. Shuzo John Shiota. Hello. He's the president and CEO of Polygon Pictures Inc. and SIGGRAPH Asia 2020 Tokyo Conference Chair, and of course the judge of the domestic video content category of ISCA 2020. Shiota-san.
Hi, konbanwa. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining.
To be here. Yeah, thanks for having me. It seems like everything is time has warped, places have warped, but
yes.
it's nice to be with you all.
Yes.
And to talk about ISCA that we love so much.
Yes, of course we are not physically close to each other at the moment, but well, on the bottom of the heart. And of course the mind of the ISCA itself connects us very tightly, I hope. So Shiota-san, are you in Tokyo now, or?
Yes.
From home office?
I'm from the Tokyo, my home, my office, my special altar place.
Wow.
My
that's a beauty.
exercise room.
You're sitting on a balance ball.
Yeah,
Wow.
my guitar
Or the
practicing
guitar
room.
practicing, yeah.
Yeah, I do everything here now these days. It's very
Exciting.
convenient.
So you never get bored with that home office. Right, beautiful.
Right.
Thank you very much for joining. So the one is, of course, the Shiota-san, or the judges of the ISCA, both domestic video content category. So next up is Ms. Cynthia Rubin. And she is the new media artist and the former chair of the SIGGRAPH digital art community. And of course, the chief judge of international video content category, the ISCA 2020. Cynthia-san.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, how are you?
I'm here. I'm in the northeast of the United States.
Wow.
So I'm leaping across continents and oceans to be with you.
Thank
you.
And it should be very difficult for you to stay up early in the morning, I have to say, not late at night.
Yes. I kind of prepped for this. The sun will be coming up soon, but it's dark here. And I'm happy to be, almost be in Japan. So it's great to see all of my ISCA teammates. I love everything about ISCA, so this is really a great time to revisit one of my favorite activities.
Thank you so much to you for joining today's session. Today's session will be very special for ISCA and for those who are interested in applying for ISCA, or other than that, who are generally interested in arts, creativity, and design, and so on. So, just before starting, having a close look at the works that ISCA presented, I would like to present about ISCA itself, because for those who are not familiar with this award, maybe I would be interested in applying for it. So, yes, can we get a slide on? So, to begin with, the ISCA accepts entries of the students' work only through their teachers and professors. And the number of the works that one teacher or professor can nominate is limited to 5. So, which means there is already a screening even before the entry. In order to make the works reach the wider audience, for digital content category, nominees exhibit their own works in the premises, and the deliberation is open to the public as well. For both domestic and international video content categories, the works are put on the big screen during the entire event. Just you can see here in the photo. And award winners will get an opportunity to present about their work in front of the audience. Besides, as a part of ISCA award ceremony, the members of the judges give a talk, like a crosstalk session like today, under the theme like creativity, arts, and design. ISCA also invites various professionals such as advertising agencies and TV stations and production companies who are closely related to the creative industry. And of course, they introduce their experience in working in that field and then interact with the students. That means the ISCA is not only just an award representing, but also a field for winners, judges, and companies, teachers, and professors, and knowledge capital staff, of course, to get exchanged and interact with each other. At the award ceremony, we present a performance by an artist, prominent artist, or cutting-edge state-of-art creators that inspire creativity and state-of-art expression. The ISCA connects students from all over the world, regardless of their nationality and schools they belong to. And let me also mention that ISCA is supported by many other international awards in Asia, like Taiwan Future Films Development Association. Last year, 3 winners of the ISCA 2019 received Golden Pin Concept Design Award in Taiwan, managed by Taiwan Design Research Institute, as you may know, one of the participating organizations of ACIC. At Chonju International Short Film Festival, a video message from general producer of Knowledge Capital, Mr. Takuya Nomura, just like as we had before, was screened at the festival, and Knowledge Capital received a memento to commemorate it. So you can say this is a kind of true exchange between the big two awards. So actually, beside me, here is the memento from the association who are hosting the award, which is beautifully designed. So we're proud to receive and also to interact with such international prominent award. Thank you so much. Okay, so for further detail, you can also visit the column. If you scroll down, you can find the ISCA Wonderland URL or link, hyperlink. You can jump to the ISCA website and you will see further detail and the information we will introduce later than that. Okay, so you see kind of photos, you're familiar. You joined and you participated and you played a very important role, as Mr. Nomura said, as a judges. Do you have any specific good memories about ISCA or good experience in mind?
Well, it's all great experiences, but it's funny. I was thinking that we can differentiate whether we're seeing photos from pre-2020 or after, by seeing that people are wearing no masks and then people are actually congregating and people are having parties. It's all these things we took for granted, but we're heavily missing now. But again, I've been lucky to be as with Cynthia, from the beginning of this thing, and I mean, the great thing is about seeing all these great works from young students, but also being able to celebrate it by inviting the finalists, from all over Japan and also from all over the world, and actually being able to spend some quality time together. Talking about the works or talking about the future and talking about career development and all these things, over food and sometimes wine. So sometimes these nights, evenings extend to long evenings.
Yeah.
That's also fun too.
That's obviously one of the things we miss so much.
Yeah. All these things we took for granted. But hopefully, more times like this will visit us with ISCA. So all these great memories.
Right.
Yes.
Cynthia-san, do you have any thoughts?
It's really wonderful when the students come together. It's wonderful to see how much they bond. This year we actually celebrated with a virtual party over Zoom for the students and the judges, in addition to what was
it was a new trail.
And it was really wonderful. I think that for many of the students, it helped. It worked. I mean, it's not the same as being together, and of course we all miss that, but we were able to provide a time for them to connect less formally and just say, oh, here's my new buddy. And I think that's a wonderful part of ISCA.
Yes, of course, ISCA 2020 took another shape compared to the previous editions. But of course, we tried out a couple of new things, and that was obviously about the online streaming, the ISCA itself. But let me not forget to mention that these two guests here as the judges, they are deeply connected to the kind of activity of ISCA and great contribution in the past, and of course we are expecting more in the future. And obviously Mr. Shiota-san is doing a kind of MC for many years, and Shinichi-san obviously doing a lot of contribution to the ISCA itself. So this is a kind of a shape of saying thank you from Knowledge Capital and ISCA team to present today as a guest under ACIC. So, without any further ado, we would like to proceed to the next program. Are you okay? Right. So, we're looking at each category of ISCA, and the first one is domestic video content category. So, we're going to see the showreel of every winning work, and then we'd like to focus on the Grand Prix. Are you ready? So the ISCA would start here, so the showreel starts now.
Konnichiwa. こんにちは。気象予報士のカッパです。今日の人間界は広い範囲で陰気に覆われています。特に東アジアの陽気は急激に減少して
夢を見た。目の前にエミちゃんがいた。触ると小さくて柔らかい。
千恵子は東京に空がないという、本当の空が見たいという。私は驚いて空を見る。
桜若葉の
Ang gabi ni Kaya. Fordi ang gazubiksi kufi Indu.
做错了什么吗？小熊在小兔耳边说了什么？我问了小兔，小熊和他说了什么？
The Earth is a planet with miracles. It is undergoing big changes. Abnormal weather.
"小兔做错了什么吗？小熊在小兔耳边说了什么？我问了小兔，小熊和他说了什么？他说是秘密，然后他从口袋里掏出一块草莓糖，说：‘给你吃。’是梦啊，原来是梦呀。”
Right, so that was the domestic video content category, and thank you very much for your attention. And let me remind you that you can always visit the ISCA Wonderland, so-called. This is the special website for ISCA 2020, and you can have a look at the entire work of respective winning work. So Shiota-san, as a judge, you are heavily involved in this category. So would you give us some insight, like general term, and of course the Grand Prix?
Oh yes, so I'm sure everybody who watched the trailers of all these final submissions that we picked would notice, the diversity of the look and style of these shorts. And so we saw pieces that were live action dramas, we saw pieces that were stop motion animation, we saw pieces that were hand drawn animation, we saw pieces that were digital animation using CGI or digital animation using real-time engines. And so it's a tremendous amount of diversity just in the methods that these students employ in telling their stories. And so that, I think that, tells the environment of the Japanese, the young artists in Japan, where they're quite aggressive in utilizing, whatever methods that they feel is most useful in telling their stories, and they have the ability to do so. You will see, if you go to the actual shorts, the diversity of the themes that they tell in their stories, and of course, some of them are comedy, some of them deal with really complicated issues like sexuality or child abuse, and also, even when we say that this is a domestic competition, basically meaning that all these pieces were submitted from Japanese schools, universities, and vocational schools. There is a tendency that I've been seeing especially in the last couple of years, in that the artists are not necessarily Japanese. They are people from other countries studying in Japanese schools.
That's true.
And this is because, in the world of animation, Japan is a certain mecca. And so this is a place where a lot of people from overseas aspire to learn animation. And you've seen that amongst the pieces that in the trailer, 3 of them were from China, and actually the Grand Prix, the winner of the competition, the Strawberry Candy, is an artist from China. And so, speaking specifically about Strawberry Candy, it's a brilliant piece. It's very, very sophisticated piece, telling a story that is extremely hard to tell. It's about child molestation, but it's being told in such an elegant way, using art designs that are not directly related or seemingly not related to the topic, and therefore the gap between the art style, the animation, and the story that it depicts, and not in a preachy way, or not in a super scary way. It's being told in a very sophisticated way, where it's not being spelled out. But if you look at the story, you can feel the sorrow behind, the experiences. And so it's the choice in the art design, choice in the theme, and the overall production value is tremendous. And especially seeing that, she is a Chinese artist studying in Japan, the influences that she brought forward from her own culture being cultivated in the Japanese environment, and the amalgamation of what eventually evolved is amazing. And it's with all these pieces that I see, it's always a learning experience for me as well, because it brings forth new concepts, brings forth new approaches, and the energy that these title encompasses is just tremendous. Something that it's hard for us being in the commercial sector to kind of retain. So I'm always appreciative of watching all these things.
Right. Thank you so much for your comments. Yes, domestic video content category in this context is the students in Japan, but you can already see the variety, and you can see the spark of the talents of the students already, and you see the kind of wide-ranging, methodologies of the expressions. It's tremendous. Thank you so much for your comment. Cynthia-san, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, I would like to add that I agree that worldwide, Japan is really seen as a center for animation, that there's a sensibility in that comes together, comes from having a different cultural heritage, but also maybe what's just grown up in a different place since we've had technology. That's so different from what we see coming out of North America and Europe and other centers. Now there's a lot of animation in Africa as well, that I think that's a big draw for people. And it's very impressive to see what comes out of that.
Right, thank you so much, because you are, of course, we're going to the next, international video content category, but still, we see a lot of international works already in the domestic category. So let me move on to the next category, which is, as I said, international video content category. So same as before, we're going to see the show reel first, and then the winning Grand Prix work. So please start the video.
What do you mean?
Could it end next week?
No.
Right, so this was from the international video content category. That's, you can see slightly the difference from the domestic ones. And of course, let me remind you again, you can always visit the special website of ISCA and you can have a look at the entire work of the winning works here at ISCA 2020. So here in this section, I think we would like to ask Cynthia-san to speak up regarding the winning works of this category, please.
Okay, so I actually put together some slides because I was looking for some consistency or some themes that made these pieces go beyond the regular storytelling. And so here I was focusing on the idea that in choosing settings, the kind of how the scene was set, that each one of the winning filmmakers really let us know about their settings in a way that drew the viewer in, that they picked the stories themselves are very compelling, but they picked scenarios of combining different points of view, different perspectives, and began with really outstanding stage sets, whether it was hand-drawn, whether it was animation, whether it was live action. And with this in mind, I was looking at what are some of the themes. And it turned out that all of the winning works had this idea of breaking out of a kind of cage, of people being confined. And so the winner, of course, takes place in an art gallery and uses the framing of the art gallery, but then and Shift, which completely takes place in a car. Right. It's the story of a nurse with a son who can't be exposed to COVID and lives in her car. Song of a Lost Boy, who starts out with this feeling that he's trapped in a role and actually shows us trapped. And of course, this scene you just saw in Trois murs et un toit, it means 3 walls and a roof. And in our in Insight, one of our most challenging pieces, the lead character is shown behind a curtain. And then in this piece, there's most of it takes place in a fantasy outdoor scene, but there is this also sense of breaking out. And I want to talk a little bit with some of the pieces used color in such an unusual way to create the mood. And that for me was really interesting. I mean, in Trois murs et un toit, we did see the lead character emotion came through and the way color was used. I wanted to talk about this one in Insight, where the bright light, it's natural light, so bright, and of course the makeup. And in the same film, there's an interior scene that's lit in a way that the characters are so strong in their color. And in Song of a Lost Boy, this is the same character in very different scenes. So the use of color was really overridingly interesting for me. Another theme that I picked up on is that the pieces were used mixed media, that in the past we would say, okay, something's hand-drawn, not hand-drawn. In this case, we have things that are really look like they're drawn on paper against the more cutout style. In Shift, our character receives messages on her phone from her son, and so we see these as brightly colored drawings. And Song of the Lost Boy, which is stop animation, so there's the combination of landscape, real objects, and the molded objects fit together really seamlessly. I was also interested in the visual references that were within the pieces. So shapes and forms were used in a way. Here we see photograph and the dancers. Out of the Ordinary is a mixed media piece that combines dancing in an art gallery. And Toi Mura Toi, you can see the shadows on the wall or the forms on the wall echo the forms of this little wind-up character. And in Shift, the drawings that the son sends to his mother, who's living in her car so as not to expose him. And then there's a very dramatic shadow moment in Insight, which is a very difficult film to watch, that also uses the references. And then there's finally the idea of repetition that really came through in some of the pieces as a stylistic device. So interestingly enough, this was in the reel that we just saw. The scene, if you see the characters, like the man down at the bottom, seem to be the same. They're not quite the same, so very creative use. And here the dancers are repeating each other in one scene and then kind of off-center in another. So playing with those stylistic ideas. And for me, this is what really came through in the whole body of work, which is that people not only had compelling stories to tell, but why are you telling a compelling story in a visual medium? I mean, you could be writing a short story, narrating a short story. So people were very experimental and really thinking about the visuals and what they did. And across the board in all the different media, the use of visual thinking is just outstanding. So that's what I wanted to emphasize. I put together this little slide show.
Well, thank you so much. Yes, you're focusing on a very different dimensions, but actually we can tell a lot of things about those works. They are very experimental and they're trying out the new things, new way of expressions, and it's so inspiring. Well, thank you very much. And Shioto-san, do you have any thoughts for that?
No, I just really enjoyed Cynthia's analysis of all the works, and I felt like I went to a good visual analysis class, and so I should be paying you.
Yeah, so we can do this kind of in the courses, I think, because the resources are very much available, and this I was really touched by the kind of the lecture you gave me, the Cynthia-san. I really thank you very much.
But I think that is one of the elements. The great thing about ISCA, personally for me as a jury member, another element that is not completely visible to the audiences or to the finalists is the element of the jury and the jury sessions and the conversations that occur in there. And especially because we come from various different backgrounds, ethnicity, cultural backgrounds, and all these angles that go beyond my box is a learning opportunity for me and for hopefully everybody else who's in the jury. And so that's a quite valuable thing. And the ability to share our thoughts to the finalists and the winners during the ceremony as well. It's everything is relative. There is no definitive criteria, but hearing all these thoughts from people of different backgrounds who have been established in their own ways, I think that's the beauty of this whole thing as well. It's a learning experience for all of us.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah, and there's so much we learn from looking at the films that the students are thinking in ways that we may not have thought of ourselves. We're seeing something really different. So I really, the time that clearly went into making these films, in pushing them over the line, in doing one more thing that didn't need to be done to tell the story, but needed to be done to make a powerful film that that echoes inside for a long time, really resonates. And that's, for me, the overriding force of what I saw in all of them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The strength of their generation. I mean, or of their relative youth, the inhibitedness, or the fearlessness because they are naive. But that's actually a strength, that we've lost certain ways. But always watching these things always reminds me of the roots or where I need to be, especially being in the commercial sector. It's very, very inspiring.
And I also wonder, many of these films, well, I would say all of them, were pretty much finished during the pandemic. So even the live action ones, I think the editing happened. Obviously, Shift was completely about the pandemic. So that's also interesting. I think we heard from the team of students who worked on Trois Murs and a Toit that they were in Paris working separate remotely.
They said so.
And
yes, true.
So there was a kind of obsession that happens when, in a good way, that kind of happens when you're alone and then remotely connecting with people who are equally obsessed, that seems to have just pushed the work further and further.
Right, thank you so much. Yes, and of course, our judges also gave a talk as a lecture as a part of ISCA 2020. All of them are available in the ISCA Wonderland, the special website of Knowledge Capital. So you can also scroll down and you can visit the site wherever you want, and you can listen to today's guest lectures as well. So that was exciting. I was a part of it, and I'm really, really happy to hear your lectures as well. Okay, at last but not least, I would like to introduce one more category of ISCA. Of course, you might imagine that ISCA is the award only for video production. Not like that. We have a digital content category. So digital content, what would you imagine with the word digital contents? But it would be like this. So the same, we're going to have a show reel and see the digest of the Grand Prix. So, coming back to the studio, that was the digital content category. So this category is confined to the Japanese student, the students in Japan. But I suppose this category's, judging process took really a completely different approach compared to the previous years, I suppose. Shota-san, do you have any thoughts or insight for that?
Yeah, this was this one competition that was extremely hard this year, and perhaps the things that we chose may have different to explain how different it was. Normally, in previous years, the submission comes in the form of a pitching video and documents, but we do get to the finalists. The finalists that we choose, they do get to actually exhibit the real work
yes.
in a physical venue, and so all the jury members when they gather in the final ceremony the day before the day of the ceremony, we gather, and then we actually see the exhibit and talk to the artists and have them explain what it's about, and then we know some of them are experimental, and so we experience it, right? And so unfortunately, because of COVID, this last year we were not afforded that opportunity, so we had to judge it purely based on the visual presentation that they provided. So that was extremely difficult, specifically for last year.
Yes. So that was the biggest differences we had because of the pandemic. We couldn't gather physically, and obviously we could not do the exhibition during the period of ISCA, which was one of the highlights, of course, the interaction between the nominees and the judges. So I think that's one of the most beautiful part of ISCA. So that's how we interact with each other.
Right. Although given the restrictions, we were all able to have a live presentation from the artists and do a Q&A. Yes, but I guess the biggest thing is that we weren't able to see a physical representation of their works, which I think is quite important in this genre.
Okay, so Cynthia-san, did you have any impression on that?
So this is the part that those of us who were not in Japan completely missed. In the past, we also have been part of the judging, but I think with the logistics of it and the time difference, it just wasn't possible this year. So I miss it, and I was really glad to see what people have produced, because this is where really I have seen some incredible work, some ideas that take intense collaboration usually to pull off, and quite frequently, not always, but require a lot of collaboration. And so it's a different kind of inspiration, but one of the parts of ISCA that I really enjoy. So that's my general thought.
Right, thank you very much. So that was the digital content category. So we looked at 3 different categories that ISCA presents. So domestic video content category, and then international video content category, and of course the digital content category. So thank you very much, Shota-san, Cynthia-san, for your insights. So just to moving slightly to the final part of the streaming today, and of course you two talked very much about the ISCA and experience, the special experience you had through ISCA. And obviously, as a part of the staff, we're honored to have you today's streaming. But the importance also is the audience that watching this streaming as well, and putting a bridge to the next edition of ISCA. So regardless of the situation of the pandemic, perhaps we are presenting some sort of the new way of artistic expressions, or where we're opening the door for the new artists or young creators to submit their works. So Shota-san, Cynthia-san, do you have any message for for the next edition or next upcoming works of students who are participating in ISCA based on your experience in the past few years?
Well, I mean, every year is quite different, but every year is quite stimulating in the same way, and so I have no reason to believe it will be the same this year as well. Again, it was great to be able to do it under the circumstances last year, albeit it was not physical, but we were able to, to reap the benefits of being able to speak online, and that had another little quirk to it, which was nice. Having said so, I just absolutely wanted, have a physical get together and be able to talk to everybody and have to share a meal and shared experiences. So that's what I'm looking forward to this year again.
Right.
So one of the things that I would say to students who are probably now working on their final projects, if they're about to graduate, is don't be afraid to collaborate with people, to bring in anybody that you need to, that will push your work further, even under pandemic circumstances, because that was one of the great things we saw this year. Actually, the winning entry in the international Out of the Ordinary was a team in Switzerland that included dancers and musicians and costume designers, and they worked long distance and really collaborated. So I know it's daunting to do that during the pandemic, but I would encourage people, just take those chances, jump in with somebody who will help you push your ideas further, even if you can't see each other in person.
Thank you so much. Yes, the inspiration and determination for the next ACIC edition, we're really looking forward to that. So I would like to close this session by that comment, and I really like to thank Mr. Shuzo John Shiota and Ms. Cynthia Beth Rubin for joining this session today, and a round of applause of the participation today. Thank you so much, and I really hope to see you again in the next edition of ISCA, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just to remind you, as I said repeatedly during the session, we have this special website called ISCA Wonderland as a part of Knowledge Capital official website. You can scroll down and you can hit the hyperlink to visit the site, and you will see the entire program of ISCA 2020. And that includes the all featuring entire work of the winning works, and also the special talks from the judging panels and from the other guests, including the performance of Shiro E. That was actually the opening act of ISCA 2020. And they actually performed on the stage at Knowledge Capital, utilizing the projection technique and also combining with the dance performance. That was truly exciting work, featuring some parts. It's a kind of the good show of the ISCA, and you see the familiar faces in the projection as well. You would definitely enjoy watching that part as well. So thank you very, very much for spending time with us, and that would be the end of the streaming. But ACIC would last or will continue to the next week. So the coming up program is hosted by Hong Kong Cyberport, so one of our partners. It will be next week, and they are presenting the inspiring innovation ideas for social good. So Cyberport is a public organization and incubation organization in Hong Kong, and mainly targeted in the field of ICT or fintech and so on. So there are a lot of startups in Cyberport, and they're working together to make an innovation happen. But at this session, they're focusing on the ideas for social good. So the awareness about social good is really rising, and And of course, all the kind of innovation and startup issues are looking into that field as a part of the social good, how to contribute to society and how to grow their own business at the same time. It could be very interesting. So please visit. Of course, you can see the hyperlink from the Knowledge Capital's official website, and you will see the live streaming from Hong Kong next week. Okay, so that will be the end of the program, and thank you very, very much for staying with us, and hopefully we will see you again soon. Bye!